fresh air, lush green foliage, and the soothing sound of flowing water. I always find that my journeys to waterfalls enliven my senses and calms my mind. On any given day, each waterfall, as with any location, has its own character and unique story to be told. What story do you want to tell?
Hello there. As you can see, it is a wet morning. It's overcast and still, and I say conditions are almost perfect for some waterfall photography. So there are a couple of waterfalls that I'd like to photograph today, and to be honest, I think these conditions are much more ideal than a bright sunny day with harsh, direct light shining straight onto the waterfall. So take a walk with me and we'll see what awaits us. So first up is this little gem behind me, Falls. What a cute little waterfall she is. For a little waterfall, she's absolutely raging at the moment, so it's probably a little bit hard for you to hear me. But I'll need to give some thought to how I want to capture the motion in the water. And when I approach a waterfall scene, or a scene with any type of water for that matter, one of the first things I think about is how do I want to capture the motion in the water to tell the story that I want to tell. In that regard, shutter speed becomes pretty important. So we can explore shutter speed a little bit further in a minute. And of course, composition is also really important. And standing on this footbridge right now, I think it's quite easy to want to take a shot just looking directly at the waterfall. But I'm not too keen on this composition at the moment, because you can see I've got some tree branches on my right and also on my left, and some ferns as well. And they're both just creeping into my frame and encroaching on the waterfall. And looking directly onto the waterfall is not something I'm a fan of either. I much prefer to take my photos looking side on or from an angle. So I'll get up closer and I'll work up a few compositions, and then I'll take you through my process. From the waterfall is incredibly strong, and the wind's blowing it back in my face as well. So I think my initial composition that will work quite nicely is I'll just situate myself in amongst the rocks there, so just slightly to the left of the waterfall.
Finding a good composition in a new or unfamiliar location can be challenging. Deciding what to include is just as important as deciding what to exclude, and this can often lead to some indecision.
finished the composition. I'm just slightly left of the waterfall, and I've got these little rocks in my foreground which I think will provide pretty good foreground interest. As the water is flowing down into the pool in front of me and it's just cascading over these little rocks, it's creating almost mini waterfalls in front of me. So I want to capture some of the movement in that water, and then it's just leading my eye back to the main attraction. Now, the spray from the waterfall is very strong, so I'm going to have to be quite cognizant of wiping the spray from the lens pretty frequently. And then also, I guess, with how strong the flow of water is today, I'm not interested in getting my shutter speed too slow. I want to bring out some of the ferociousness and the rage in the water today. So normally I would aim for about 1/8 of a second to 2 seconds at most. I usually find that's quite a good shutter speed for me to work from. A bit of trial and error. Most likely what I'll need to do is to focus stack, because I've got some rocks in my foreground which are just too close, and so I'll focus stack the foreground, the midground and then the background, and then blend all the images together in post to make sure that's quite sharp there. And we've got a bit of wind now as well, so I'm keeping an eye out for any foliage in my frame that might be, blurring a little bit if I'm keeping my shutter speed too long, or if my exposure is too long.
Moving on to my next composition. Did I mention that composing in a new or unfamiliar location can be challenging? Well, add to that the need to navigate some rocks, boulders and rapidly flowing water, and the challenge is magnified. My top tip: look all around you. Sideways, behind you, up above and down low.
Off centre, but more in front of the waterfall now, and I've pretty much perched myself at the base where the water is just cascading to these centre rocks, which is being funneled through and flowing down, and I'm loving the motion of the water as it comes through here. So I've got myself pretty down low and trying to capture as much of the water as I can. Not interested in catching any of my sky there. So it's flowing incredibly fast, and I'm on 1/8 of a second, and that is just smoothing out the water a little bit. There is just so much spray. Give my screen a quick wipe, my timer on. Away. I'm just wiping it as fast as I can.
Some of you might be asking at this stage, what's the story I wanted to tell? Well, I wanted to show a waterfall that wasn't as calm and graceful as you'd expect from her name. She was seen as a quaint little waterfall suitable for travelling ladies to bathe in back in the 1960s. In my eyes, while she was showing some elegance on the surface, she was restless on this particular day and had a bit of bite to her. These were the characteristics I wanted to draw out.
So I moved on to my second waterfall, It's a much calmer waterfall than Lady Bath. It's a much broader fall, and so the water is more evenly dispersed as it's cascading down. The sun has started to creep out from behind the clouds now. What I'll do is I'll work my way along these rocks here, just through this narrow path between the ferns, and try and work a few compositions there. Unfortunately, I won't be spending too much time here. I've run out of time. I'm actually on my way to the snow. So I'll squeeze in just a few quick shots here. I found what I think is a little bit of a unique composition here. As you can see, I am very low. I am quite deep in the water here. In fact, I'm not sure how deep this goes, and I'm quite down low. And what I'm seeing is just the waterfall just cascading down that rock face there, and then pooling down in the center here, and then to my right I can see the waterfall also cascading over that rock and forming another beautiful stream that's flowing down to this central pool. So I'm pretty much trying to just capture both streams of the waterfall as they meet in the middle. I'll try a few different shutter speeds, and I'll put the images up very shortly, and then I better head off. So thanks so much for joining me on today's video. I hope you enjoyed the photos and the adventure. It's just great being out capturing waterfalls. Lots of fun, and I will catch you in the next one. Take it easy, take care, see you later. So in terms of the gear that I use, three things that I think are absolutely critical when you're taking photos of waterfalls. First is to have a pretty sturdy tripod, especially if you've got the tripod legs, just in the water. If the flow of water is as strong as it is today, your tripod legs would definitely feel vibrations. And so make sure that your tripod is planted pretty firmly into the sand or the water here. So I've got it pretty sturdy. And look, if your budget allows it, I'd highly recommend getting a carbon fiber tripod as well, because as compared to an aluminium tripod, they've got a greater stiffness rating. So less flex in them, which means they can absorb the vibrations a lot better, and that's going to help to minimize any blur that you have in your images. So what I use here, I've got a Serre carbon fiber tripod here, extremely lightweight, really sturdy. I love this thing. This video is not sponsored at all, by the way, but this has been a recent investment of mine, and I absolutely love it. Second thing is, well, if you're like me today and you find yourself wading in the water, having gumboots is an absolute must for me anyway. Anytime that I'm doing seascapes, photos of waterfalls, I find that having a good pair of gumboots that provides pretty good grip underfoot is important, and of course also making sure that it is waterproof. So these are my muck boots. They're neoprene, so pretty much like wetsuit material, and they keep me comfortable and very dry and warm as well. And then I think polarizer is always fantastic for waterfalls and also seascapes because they can cut out the glare in the water, allows you to see through to the rock bed underneath. Today it's not so important because it's incredibly overcast, but what the circular polarizer also does is it helps to provide greater contrast because it's able to cut through all the glare and reflections. So it does provide a bit of pop in the greens in your scene, so the greens in the foliage and the trees, and also it helps to bring out the blues in the sky. And I guess the final thing that is really underrated are microfiber cloths or lens cloths, because you really do need to keep wiping your lenses in these sorts of conditions and making sure that they're spotless.